Hey everyone, welcome to Points in the Paint from For Fantasy Sake, sponsored by Yard Barbers. As always, I'm Andrew McKay. With me is my partner in crime, Sam Odiemi.
What's up? Got it right.
Hey, I've got a streak. I feel like I got it now. And you know what's funny is I still second guess myself every time I say it because I'm like, I'm gonna botch it. I'm willing to bet that happens a lot.
Yeah, not as often as you think. Actually, really not as often as you think. People actually take more time to ask me to pronounce my last name before they say it. Let's just say that.
That's nice. That's always nice.
Yeah.
But tonight we've got a full slate of topics to talk about. Obviously, the NCAA tournament going on. We have some playing games already. Already, some teams eliminated. The biggest name that in my opinion, Wichita State out. I definitely had Drake not winning that game. Drake, I thought, was kind of falling off towards the end of the season, but it seems like they were able to overcome Wichita State. But I don't know. I still don't feel like that they have what it takes to beat USC.
So Drake started off the season 18-0. I think I just saw this on ESPN the other day, and then they finished the season 7-4. I think they were 25-4.
Yeah.
So they're still, above 5. They were still above 500. I mean, maybe those
their loss were games that they probably should have
won. Yeah, I get it. I mean, after going 18-0, I mean that can definitely go to your head. So you probably dropped some games too. So I'm glad that Drake was able to pull off a game, so prove that they belong with it that they're at.
I mean, I'm happy they won. I will represent.
Nice.
You brought up undefeated streaks. Gonzaga undefeated. What's the likelihood that they stay undefeated and win the championship?
I got them winning in my bracket, so I'm hoping that happens. Then that's good for me, right? But I think Gonzaga can do it. They could go. They can do what Kentucky didn't do like in 2015 and go all the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think that Gonzaga has that opportunity and has that chance. It's a very good squad. But like you said, it's very, very hard to do. Carry on that whole undefeated season and win, not just in basketball, but in any sport. Baseball, you're never going to see that. Football, we've seen it attempted in our lifetime once with the Patriots, and then they were dethroned by the Giants in the Super Bowl, so they fell one game shy. For people that probably a little older than us, they were able to witness the Dolphins do it, and they're the only ones to do it in NFL history. So it's not like it's an easy feat by any means, and I feel like that pressure does get to you.
Agreed. Definitely agree.
But we can take a look at some Sweet 16 matchups. I know we have. Obviously, we're not going to be able to see the viewers until the Sweet 16 starts anyways. So we'll miss that second round. But for the most part, I mean, on paper, you kind of have a good idea who's going to be in the Sweet 16. Gonzaga, Virginia, that's going to be a matchup to watch. I don't foresee Virginia losing to either Creighton or Ohio. Or UC Santa Barbara if that's who they end up playing in the round of 32.
Mm-hmm.
You have Iowa and Kansas. That's probably going to be one of the games that I watch the closest.
Yeah.
Of course, down in the South or East region, we'll have Michigan versus Florida State. That's going to be a great game.
Agreed.
Texas and Alabama. I think that's going to be a dogfight. Down in the Midwest region, we've got San Diego. I should say, San Diego State and Houston. 6
I have
seed.
that.
And I think that's one of the ones we agreed on. For the most part, I think in the Sweet 16, we had teams that were the same. Illinois and Oklahoma State. That's going to be our For Fantasy Sake DJ and Linda Lyons bowl game. So I'll be excited to watch that one and see which one of them gets upset. I did change one today, and I'm liking it more and more with each minute that goes by.
Which one's that?
I switched out Purdue. I have Purdue getting upset by Winthrop in the round of 32.
Oh, nah. Oh, not Purdue.
Yeah. Purdue. I looked at
They
it
look
a little closely. So on paper, I looked at it a little closer. Winthrop and Purdue are very, very similar. Winthrop actually scores more points per game than Purdue this season. They were 17-1 in their conference, 23-1 overall. And although they didn't play any top 5 or top 25 schools, Purdue went 5-5. So they went 500 against top 25 schools. And they allowed about the same points per game. Like, call me crazy. I think that's just a matchup that I think people could take advantage of, and I think Winthrop could be that dark horse team that gets into the Elite Eight, and of course, then they run into Baylor the next round. So them beating Baylor is going to be a tall task, but can you imagine if Winthrop was able to do that and then get into the Final Four?
I show love to the Big Ten, man. I just do not have Purdue. I can't see Purdue losing to Winthrop. Like I get the Big Ten. The Big Ten historically, just like in bowl games for college football and NCAA tournament, they typically show out. They typically, you'll have a couple Big Ten teams, in the meat of it, when it's all said and done. So I'm just not going to overlook that history. So.
Is it we look at it, and
I even think Purdue, they'll challenge Baylor when they play Baylor. I think I still have Baylor beating them, but I have Ohio State beating Baylor, so they're losing to another Big Ten team. But Purdue will compete, dude. They're going to compete. No, they're not. They're not losing to Winthrop though.
And it's not like I'm saying that we would snub the Big Ten at all, because we have Michigan in there, we have Illinois, we have Ohio State, we have Iowa, and I can't justify sending Purdue in there to a matchup that's close. I think Winthrop is going to be a dark horse team. I really do, and I don't think that they make it into the Elite Eight. But if they end up beating Baylor, I think that's that would be a bracket buster for a lot of people, myself included.
I don't think Baylor's going to lose to them either, but we'll see. Norfolk State's beating Appalachian State 36-20.
That's a
SMU.
16.
Yeah, 16-16. Is that Boise State's beating SMU? Oh, Boise State. Yeah, 35-22. And Davidson lost. Huh.
Yeah, like we said earlier, I think that Drake matchup was probably the biggest shock, but I don't think either of us ever thought that either team, whether it be Drake or Wichita State, had what it takes to beat USC.
I gotta look at a bracket, but I can't wait for tomorrow. Man, I'm excited
for the entire week.
Yeah, I know, It'll be. I'm traveling this weekend, so I'm flying tomorrow, and I'm gonna be out of town. So it'll be like me just checking my phone whenever I can. I'm like, oh, that happened. I'm not in my natural environment anyway, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, we've got obviously tomorrow there's the entire weekend is just gonna be an insane slew of games, and we're gonna see a lot of upsets. You and I, we had some 10 seeds winning. We had a lot of 11 seeds going up and beating 6 seeds, and then a few 12s beating 5s. So expect those to happen.
Yeah, that 5-12, man, it's like a trap. That's a trap. If you're a 5th seed, you got it
is a curse.
Yeah, dude, it's a curse, dude. I completely agree. I think last year I picked 3 out of the 4 or 5 seeds lost last year. All of them might have lost, but I picked every upset last year. I remember, or no, not last year. I'm sorry, it was canceled 2 years ago. It was the year when John Morant. It was last year in college. Yeah, 2 years ago when they beat they upset Marquette. I remember they upset Marquette. Yep.
Speaking of, this is actually a nice little segue into the NBA portion. We've been kind of neglecting the NBA the last we've done the show.
Agreed.
But we can at least begin talking about the Western Conference playoffs. I don't know if you looked at the standings recently, but there's actually that it's a close race between the 4 seed and then all the way until the 8 seed. And then even looking outside on the bubble. So you're looking at it, you've got the Clippers at that 4 seed. They're 4.5 games back from first place. Only 2 games out from third, behind the Lakers. You have the Nuggets, who are a game behind them. The Trailblazers, who are half a game behind the Nuggets in 6th seed. The Spurs, who are 1 game behind the Blazers.
After the Spurs won last night.
Yep. Which was
my God.
Which
terrible.
The Bulls had that game, and then they let up a 17-0 run. In the
terrible. Wow. But yeah, keep going. I'm sorry.
I think we were both equally as upset with that as the other person.
I can say, like, and you know what, too? I follow all the Bulls social media, like, handles. So, like, I remember when the game was on, I had just got to the gym, and, like, I, like, got home, and I noticed that, like, the handles weren't tweeting, like, the Bulls win. I'm like, oh, they usually, like, celebrate, like, every win. Yeah. Like, they'll post. And now I'm like, I didn't think too much of it. Then I logged, when I went on ESPN and saw what they lost, I was like, how do you lose that game? You were up, like, 33-19 in the first. Like, you just were dominating them.
Yeah.
And
poor defense, and they just weren't able to put it together. And you can't let up that sort of run and then expect to win games. It's frustrating.
Growing pains.
Yeah, it's growing pains, but they're a team that we're going to talk about on the eastern side of this picture. But like I said, Spurs, they're 7 seed right now, 7 games back. And then you have the Mavericks, 8 seed, 8 games back. Now, we'll go down, and on the bubble, you have the Warriors, the Grizzlies. I guess I'd consider the Pelicans and the Thunder on the bubble because they're 12.5 games back.
Pelicans are a disappointment, too.
The Pelicans, I think they'll plummet. Thunder, they'll continue to plummet.
Kings are a big disappointment.
Yeah, well, I remember earlier in one of our shows, I was very, very high on the Rockets, and they've lost 18 straight.
Christian Wood's been out. I think he came back, but he was out for a while. And then they traded DeMarcus Cousins. I don't know why he left there. Maybe I don't know. I mean, with
18 straight.
Huh?
That's 18 straight games of not being able to find an anchor.
Yeah. I mean, they just traded PJ Tucker. So right now, what Houston should just do is tank, draft picks. They got DJ Wilson from the Bucks in that PJ Tucker trade. I actually like DJ Wilson. He's a Michigan player, but he's like a 6'10" stretch forward. I think he could definitely carve out a nice role in Houston, and he's young. So Houston just got to look to rebuild. Trade what you can get. Maybe you trade. Who's their point guard? It's not
They got John Wall.
John Wall.
They got Oladipo.
Maybe you move Oladipo for assets, because he's going to leave in free agency. So if you're Houston, you probably should move Oladipo because a team will take him. Even if you can get a second rounder or something, or just move him for assets because you're not doing anything this season. And what's the point of keeping him on there if he's going to leave? Because he's going to leave like an offseason. He's not staying.
Yeah. Yep. No, he'll be gone unless they're able to get him a nice deal. But I don't think that they'll be. Like you said, I think that's probably the best case for him is to ship Oladipo off somewhere, let him test free agency in the offseason, send him to a contender that's looking to win a championship right now.
Might as well.
But looking at all those teams, they're in such close proximity to – and they're all within a game of each other. And some of them, don't get me wrong, some of them are at 37 games, 38 games, 39 games played. And that's going to make a huge difference when it comes down to crunch time, because if for example, the Warriors have played 41 games and they're a game behind the Mavericks. That's the Mavericks have played one less game too, so the Mavericks are going to have that additional game to either go up on the Warriors or go down and be tied.
That's why I said this is like the dog days of the NBA, where there's just like, so many games going on. I'm sorry, I'm at the office. So many games going on, and it's just like, I mean, there's just not really much swinging on a pendulum. So yeah, I mean, and then you got to factor in injuries, players sitting out, rest. Some teams will just prefer to go to the playoffs healthy. I could see Dallas holding out. If they lock up a seed, just holding out like Porzingis or somebody else. For health reasons. Same thing with the Lakers. The Lakers are like, hey, let's just make it to the playoffs with our team and see what we can do. So the Lakers could drop from 3, whatever they're at, to the 4th, 5th. I mean, it's just if you're in the Western Conference, and I mean, I guess if you're the Utah Jazz or Phoenix Suns, maybe.
Who just lost tonight to the Washington Wizards.
I was watching that game earlier, and the Wizards. I don't know. I was kind of watching it. And I was kind of talking to some friends, but yeah, I'm surprised the Wizards beat them. But
I didn't have fun, but I was paying attention to the box score.
Honestly, it doesn't matter where Utah finishes. I just think with the playoffs, the same thing with Phoenix. Maybe they'll be a tough. Phoenix. I mean, depending on the matchups too. Like if a Phoenix Suns team plays the Spurs team in the first round, I don't think that's a cakewalk. You know what I'm saying? Because they're a young Phoenix team, and San Antonio. I mean, granted, it's not the same San Antonio team, but they still got Popovich. They still got a bunch of veterans there. They could. Phoenix could the Spurs could upset Phoenix in the first round. It's based on matchups. Phoenix spent the whole season getting that number 2 seed, only to lose in the first round. So I think it's more about matchups. I'm sorry, you see my coworker. I don't know. She was asking me.
Ask her. She must be in the show.
Nah, she's working, burning the midnight oil.
But like you said, yeah, it very well could happen. I personally don't see the Spurs upsetting the Suns in that first round. Obviously, if the season were to end today, that's what the matchup would be. But I see the Suns losing to a Laker team, maybe a Clipper team, if they can get it put together. So I'm
gonna let you in a little secret.
Yes,
the Lakers are probably gonna come out the West. I'm sorry. It's just. A fully healthy Lakers team. We're a team. I think they're a team who I could see us. And obviously I'm biased. I'm a Lakers fan. I could just see us when Anthony Davis comes back. We could turn on that switch. Like we could amp up our defense. You still got LeBron. We're gonna have AD. At some point they're being cautious with him, but we can amp up our defense. Our perimeter players, KCP, Caruso. Even Wes Matthews are going to make enough threes. We're going to get, the buckets from the Montrezl Harrell. And then if we get a big man, I think we're ready. And Gasol, we're just Kuzma. I'm not out the West. I'm just like, that's why I'm saying Utah, Phoenix, whatnot. Stack your records, get the top seed. It doesn't matter. The Clippers, you guys aren't scaring anybody. You're not even like, you got what Kendrick Perkins always said, Clippers more bark than bite. Like the Clippers team last year worried me more than the team this year, so I'm not worried about them, and not worried about Dallas, not worried about San Antonio. Phoenix, it's a nice
on this. I actually have the Clippers winning it all again.
Yeah, the Suns.
Lakers. Sorry, I meant Lakers.
I understood when you said it all again. I'm like, yeah, you meant Lakers. Utah Jazz get the number 1 seed, losing the first round. Historically, whatever. Phoenix Suns, feel good story. Hey, we got back to the playoffs. Devin Booker's a nice rising star. But that story gets cut short. Portland maybe win a series, losing the next round. Dallas maybe give a tough first out. Like I could see the playoffs unfolding. Maybe I watch so much basketball, but out the West, I got the Lakers. Out the East, who knows? I like Philly in the East. I'm not gonna lie, Philly out the East, but that's another topic.
Yeah, that is another topic. We'll hit on that here in a second. While we're on the topic of Western Conference teams, there was an article I came across, and I watched a little bit of the game yesterday between the Clippers and the Mavericks, and the Mavericks ended up winning by 15. But Paul George, after the game, was complaining about the lack of non-calls when they were attacking in the offensive paint, and he's complaining that they're not getting the calls that they should get, that a lot of them are fouls. And I get his complaint because those types of fouls usually go the offensive team way anyway. There's a lot of leniency towards the offense, and it seems like defense can't do anything to the offensive guy without being called for a foul, send him to the line. But even for the amount of fouls that he was wanting them to have, they wouldn't have overcome that 15-point deficit in order to win. So at what point do you look at your team and say, hey, we got to be better? Or I would understand if it was like, hey, we lost by 5. We probably should have gotten a few foul calls and gone to the line. Then it's a winnable game for us. But no, you were up by 15 points.
I see players complain about the officiating all the time, and I mean it's tough, dude. It's hit or miss. I don't think Paul George has a case about lack of fouls in the paint, foul calls in the paint. I don't. I mean, I just don't. It's tough.
It is very tough. But I mean, and we talked a little bit before the show.
Renee has a flurry of implements.
We talked a little bit before the show aired anyway, and I have an ad decided to pop up, so that's cool. I'm just gonna bounce out of that tab because that's dumb. But we talked a little bit about before the show about officiating in the league and how there's been a lot of technical foul calls this season, and it's like the officials have a low tolerance for it, and not as much as they have in years past, which I don't understand how it changed. I know I brought up JJ Redick earlier in the season. Tossed the ball to the official, spun it around one of the other players to avoid hitting him, because if he throws the ball at a player, then that's a technical foul. So he throws it to the official, bounces, official looks away and gets hit by the ball and then calls a technical foul. Like, you go back and like, I feel like a technical foul like that should go back to replay and, that was just my own mistake, and JJ Redick didn't mean anything by it.
I remember watching that game and seeing it happen. I just laughed hysterically. I saw what JJ didn't do anything like wrong. He literally did exactly what you said. Just rolled the ball there. But I think the fact that he disputed the call earlier, so the officials are kind of wound up. Like, these officials are like trigger happy to like call technicals, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that's something that the Players Association and the league's got to come together with and talk about, because I mean, officials are the, you know what I'm saying, they're obviously a key part in the game, but maybe that just requires more training. Who knows? I mean, whenever something happens, right, isn't that always the answer? More training, more,
Yeah, I mean,
more film. Yeah. I mean, the NBA has their film thingy that reviews the calls and determines that, well, this call should have been called. So it's like, so they're committed to approving, officiating. So maybe more investment in that, more emphasis on that.
And I get it. I mean, and don't get me wrong, there's going to be some fouls you're able to call on the floor, and I understand they're going to happen in the moment. Go back, review it, make the right call. That's fine. That's whatever. And I feel like technical fouls like that should be one of those reviewable calls, even a regular technical foul, to be able to go back and say, 100%, this is a technical foul, all right on the floor, moved on. But it's almost like the officials don't want to review it half the time, or then when they review it, they look at it and they're like, yeah, we're still not going to change it. Almost like
stop it. They don't interrupt the game flow. Like, they don't want to interrupt I think that's the big thing. They want to keep the game flow, pace.
Yeah, and I understand that's one of the rules, is keeping the pace of play and keeping the game going. Don't hold it up for things like that. But when it changes something like that in the game, I think it's something that you need to stop it for, and you need to address. Take the time, figure it out, make the right call, and go on from there. That's just me, though. But we can move over to the Eastern Conference, and we'll be able to highlight our Bulls, as awful as they played yesterday.
Growing pains, just growing pains. You gotta look at it like that. Growing pains. Kobe's young. Zach's learning what it is to be the top dog. Wendell's still trying to figure out his role. Lowry needs to just be more consistent, and he needs to stay on the court and not be hurt. Just growing pains. And then we're sprinkling in with the veterans, Thad Young, Satoransky, Porter, Temple. So, I mean, I still like the direction of his team. Really young, Pat Williams, young, so I like the direction that we're going. We're going to be a really formidable team, as long as we keep building to what we have. And I kind of stole their moniker, grow with us, because we're growing, so we'll be in a playoff mix this year, unless there's a collapse, but so that's a big.
They're still on the bubble. So
Yeah.
looking at the Eastern Conference, they are right now that next team looking in. They're only one game back from the Knicks, who have that 8th spot.
Tibbs. That's tough. He's so good. He's been coached them well, but I'm actually surprised in Eastern Indiana slumped so much. But granted, Karis LeVert is back now, so maybe Indiana sneaks back in. But
I do have that one on my radar as well. Indiana, I think, sneaks back in. Boston, I think, falls out, and I think you and I had been.
Boston's such a surprise.
Yeah, you and I have been definitely hitting on that for the past few weeks, past month, that Boston would probably not make the playoffs this year, that they would fall out of the race. But the question is, do the Bulls get that last spot? Do the Pacers get that last spot? I think Toronto ends up falling back as well, especially if they wind up trading away Kyle Lowry. I think that's another piece that they move to get depth later on, whether that's draft picks, whether that's younger players, whatever it is. I think that because they're going to lose his leadership, his presence. But you look at the Eastern Conference, you got the 76ers and Nets tied for the best record at 28-13. You have the Bucks a game and a half behind them, and then the 4 seed Miami Heat 6 games back behind the number 1 and 2 seeds. Miami Heat just acquiring Trevor Ariza in exchange for Myers Leonard. I can't even say his name.
Myers Leonard, and that's a good move for Miami because they can use all the perimeter defenders they can get. So that's smart. Ariza, Iguodala, these are veteran perimeter defenders because they're going to need them in the playoffs. So I mean, Miami's they still got Tyler Hero, still got Duncan Robinson, Kendrick Nunn, and Jimmy Butler, Goran the Dragon Dragic. I love that nickname for him. That might be one I just gave him myself. But anyways. That's a good move for Miami, and I was never worried about Miami. So yeah, that's a dark horse team that we're not talking enough about. They are the defending Eastern Conference champions, but
yeah, and that move to acquire Ariza was solely a move to gather depth for their team because they're already in. I think there was like a 99% chance that they're going to make postseason, which you have the 4 seed right now, and you're that far up, you're going to make the postseason. In spite of minus a crazy collapse in your team. But I think that it's a team that's going to be able to go very far, especially with adding this depth later on. And I personally don't think that they're done adding depth either.
No. I want to see where Kyle Lowry ends up at. I really do, because I know there's a team that's going to need a veteran point guard. I was going to say the Clippers, but I don't think the Clippers could. The Clippers don't have a salary. I don't know. The Clippers could probably get him, but they'd have to. I don't know. They'd have to move like Lou Will or something. But I think the Clippers need him the most out of all the team series. If the Clippers get Kyle Lowry, then I'm like, all right, well, shoot, they got a point guard, now. So, but I mean, I
was looking at the Knicks
or the Celtics because Kemba Walker's been banged up. So maybe they. The Knicks, you say? Why the Knicks? I mean, Tim's got Derrick Rose. Remember, he's got Emmanuel quickly off the bench, and he's still got Alonzo Trier.
It's all about the depth, though. It's all about the depth and being able to have versatile players. Not saying that he would be a point guard for the Knicks all the time, but he's a guy that has veteran leadership, that he's able to go out, teach a lot of the young guys a little bit, Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, some of these ropes, and show them how to lead a team, truly lead a team.
I get that. Man, yeah, I think the Celtics would be another team, and the Celtics have a bunch of draft picks from all those years of tanking. So if they can trade for Kyle Lowry, especially with just Kemba, his knee being iffy, maybe you get a Kyle Lowry and you bring Kemba to the bench, reduce his minutes, and you ride that out. I mean and Kyle Lowry's a pit bull on defensive end too. I mean Tatum Brown, Marcus Smart. I mean they can. And we also got to consider buyout candidates too.
Yeah, your buyout candidates. You're looking at Andre Drummond, possibly. Another one that was brought up, Marcus Aldridge. from the Spurs. I think that he could end up getting moved, and he is one that I think could wind up the Heat possibly have their eye on.
Drummond?
Aldridge.
Aldridge. That'd be a good move for the Heat. I wonder if he fits. Yeah, he fits their style, especially because he could shoot it so well, and then he could be a pick and pop player for them too.
Yep,
definitely pick and pop.
It's just one of those things where there's a lot of players that are looking like they're going to be on the move, and it's a toss up right now. Obviously, we hit on the show earlier on the show. The Bucks are acquiring PJ Tucker from the Rockets. Trevor
Bucks
Reese.
are fool's gold. That I'm not worried about Milwaukee. I mean, Giannis. Let Giannis do his thing. Shut down the rest of the team, and there you go. Shut down Chris Middleton. Shut down Drew Holiday. Let Giannis go wild out and dunk every time. And I mean, shut down the other guys. That's how you used to beat the Lakers back in the day.
I think I'm shutting Giannis down, and I think I'm letting the rest of that team try and beat me.
Yeah, well, I mean, let Giannis do his thing, but you're gonna throw a bunch of bodies at Giannis. He's gonna, he's gonna face like he's gonna be guarded by like 6 to 8 different guys. Small point guards. You know what I'm saying? 4, 6, 8 guys you could switch. 6 guys, strong guys like a Jay Crowder, Jimmy Butler. The taller guys. I mean, even bigs. So if he tries to drive on a big, just make him work. You make him work. You're gonna throw a bunch of bodies at him. Stuff like that, especially if he goes to the foul line. He's not the greatest foul shooter. You'll probably wall him off too defensively, with another player. So you'll force him to shoot jump shots. Remember, this is the playoffs, so everything slows down. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not worried about Milwaukee, dude. Milwaukee's they're fool's gold, dude. I mean, they had their chance like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, whatever, and they're not doing anything.
I don't know, especially against some of these other East teams. You're looking at the Nets and you look at the 76ers.
Yeah.
I think, like you said,
those are the two. Nets and Sixers are the two teams.
I think they missed their time, and they have to figure something else out. Whether that's they find another guy, another big name to help out Giannis and Middleton, or maybe they deal Middleton. Who knows?
Maybe. I mean, they can make the right moves for that. Actually, it could be addition by subtraction if they can get a couple like nice other players back in return. But they need a legit number 2 guy though, because
and there's not many of those out there. The only person that I could really think that they would go after for that number 2 would be Bradley Beal, and I don't see him fitting well in there.
Middleton for Bradley Beal straight up.
I was more or less talking about a move at the trade deadline to get Bradley Beal in addition to everybody else they have on their team. I don't think they have what it takes to
adding Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Bradley Beal makes too much money. They'd have to trade because they'd be over the cap. I mean, if they're all in, they're all in. But I don't know if you can do even. I don't even know if that'd be enough to beat Brooklyn though. It'd be fun though. Bradley Beal and Bradley Beal's got a smooth stroke. Him and Giannis. I mean, that could be a nice little 2-man game. And then if you have like capable players around them, and Bradley Beal can play some point guard too. He's played point guard with John Wall being out this year, so he can play with the ball in his hands, and he's got a smooth stroke, man.
Yeah, he does.
He'll get some nice looks.
He and Russell Westbrook were actually the ones that combined for the most points on that team tonight to beat the Jazz.
I saw Westbrook shooting a lot. I didn't see a lot of going in, so I'm surprised about that.
They had about the same amount of shots, actually. I think
I barely saw Bradley shoot. Like I said, I was kind of like watching the game, and I kind of was. The NCAA game was going on too. I was watching that too. I was like kind of jumping back and forth.
But I mean, Bradley Beal is one of those names, the big name that has been in the NBA for a little bit, talking about getting out of Washington and moving somewhere else. Where's your potential landing spot for him?
For Bradley Beal?
Yeah.
A contender, preferably at this point. A contender would be nice. I guess he'd be nice in Dallas too. If Dallas could swing, maybe Hardaway Jr. or something else, kind of shake things up. I mean, he'd be nice in Dallas. I think him and Luka and Porzingis would be a nice three-man trio. But like, it's got to be a contender.
Yep.
Like at this point, and I can't think of any other. Golden State, but man, they'd have to
I
give
don't
up
see
something.
Golden State just because of who they have on their team, and I see Golden State going after maybe a big guy down low,
Yeah,
rather than another shooter. But you never know what's going to end up happening. But like you said, I think that Dallas Mavericks move would make sense. Only time's going to tell, but he's going to get moved, and whoever he gets moved to is going to get a great player out of it. And they're, like you said, it's going to be a contender and gets moved to the right team. I think that they make a serious run for the championship. And if it ends up being somebody in the East, so say maybe it's the Heat, for example, let's say it's the Heat. I think
he's actually been linked to Miami a lot, and I was like, man, dude, him and Jimmy Butler would be fucking. Excuse me.
I think we would have a rematch.
Oh my god, that would be incredible, dude. He's been linked to Miami, but Miami's always linked to like these top players. But like, yeah, I mean, Miami's even linked to get Giannis. Like, so that just shows you like how Miami is as an organization. They're aggressive in free agency, but they like drafting their own and bringing their own guys in, which I definitely dig and respect. So. If you're Washington, you got to move him though. You can't stay in Washington. There's no point.
Yeah. Washington's made it clear that he's not the guy that they envision for them to build their franchise around, which blows my mind, but whatever.
Well, he's 28, 27 now, so he's getting up there in age. So now you change to a contender and you go younger. You know what I'm saying? You had a couple of good years with him and John Wall. You made some playoff runs, but you played in the East, so you went against LeBron. But maybe you rebuild with whatever you have now, Roy Hachimura, and whoever else is still around.
Yeah, Hachimura, he's a solid player. He gets hurt every now and then, but he's a solid player. I like him. He's a young guy. He can shoot the ball from anywhere on the floor. He gets rebounds. He's not afraid to get down low and get scrappy. He's a great big guy for them. And I think that if they're able to get I don't think that they have Westbrook next year. I think that they probably move on from him. But I think that they'll have a decent squad maybe here in about 2 years. But like you said, with the Heat, I think it's the coach. I think there's a lot of players in the league that respect Erik Spoelstra and what he does and how he runs things. So it makes it really easy when you're a team and you have a coach that's respected amongst a lot of the players in the league who want to come and play or are open to come and play for your coach. So I think that helps out a lot.
Agreed. I love the Miami Heat culture.
It's great. I mean, that whole they have such a defensive. They usually have such a defensive scheme, and they're able to stop a lot of teams. And like you said, they are very good at slowing the game down. And in playoff time, that's the key. You saw it against the Bucks, is they were able to slow them down. They were able to beat them. Obviously, it helped that Giannis got hurt, but
they were going to lose anyways.
And I still think that one of the ways that they were able to beat Giannis and the Bucks was they got them in foul trouble. They got Giannis in foul trouble very early on.
It took the Bucks out their game.
Yeah.
And it slowed the game down too. I mean, that's big.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a roller coaster ride because in the Eastern Conference, there's so many close teams within such proximity of each other, especially for those last spots. I mean, the Bulls technically from that 5th seed.
We can get it, man.
I'll do you.
I'm all in on the Bulls this year.
4th seed. They're only 3 games back.
I'm all in on Chicago this year, and the Bears just broke my heart, man, for the last time earlier today. I'm done with them. They're done. The Cubs are rebuilding, so I can step away from the Cubs, and the Bears I'm done with the Bears too. So I'm all in on the Bulls, man.
I can't I don't want to get into the Bears because I don't want to lose it again. I was so upset at that Andy Dalton signing. The thing is, we signed Andy Dalton for $10 million. The Bears signed Andy Dalton for $10 million. The Bills just signed Mitch Trubisky earlier today for $2.5 million. You're telling me that Andy Dalton was worth $7.5 million more than Mitch Trubisky? That is bullshit. That is absolute bullshit.
Andrew, I'm telling you, I'm literally just done. I think I'm just gonna unfollow all Bears, everything. I don't even want to do. Yeah, I think that seems kind of dramatic, but I don't even want to see the Bears in my timeline.
I'm right there with you. I'm definitely questioning my fandom and everything, and I'm
gonna be like Fireman Ed with the Jets. I'm not watching. I mean, I haven't been watching Bears much the last few years lately. I mean, I still follow, along, but I'm like, I'm not even following along. I mean, like, this is just. I'm like, I probably won't even play fantasy football. I think I'm just gonna. Next year, Kansas City, Tampa Bay rematch. I'll just expect for that. But yeah, I'm done.
I don't know if we have a Kansas City Tampa Bay rematch because that was a wild ride for Tampa Bay to be able to get there and play the kind of ball that they played. Because early on in the season, they did not look all that great. Coincident. Actually, they were beaten by the Bears earlier on that season. So does that make better than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Probably not. But it's one of those things where I've got to see what happens, and hopefully the draft turns things around and brings some hope for it, because this is not the sort of team that is going to be doing anything. So as for right now, I'm with you. All my faith is in the Bulls. Everything is in the Bulls to hope that they save my own sanity. And they're like we mentioned, they're not out of the playoff race by any means. They're right there on the bubble. Their one problem is their home record. They are 9-14 at home, and I don't know many teams that do very well when you have a sub 500 record at home.
Agreed.
They've got to win more games at home. They can't lose games like they did yesterday against the Spurs, where they overcame a 33-point deficit. It can't happen, and that's not how you're going to win basketball games and be able to get to the playoffs. But like you said, it's growing pains, young team, they'll get there eventually. But we've been saying that for a little while now, and at some point that's got to turn around.
I'm all in, Bulls. You can't break my heart like the Bears just did. I'm all in. Kobe, Zach, bring us back to the promised land. Wendell, Lowry, Thaddeus, Denzel. I'm all in. Billy Donovan. I've always been a fan since Florida. I remember that first championship, 2006. Yep. Versus UCLA. But I remember the second one, 2007 versus Ohio State. I remember those teams. You know what I'm saying? So I got you back, Billy. But yeah, I mean, we just do the way the East has looked too. Boston being super shaky. Orlando's been, since Orlando lost Markelle Fultz, they've been slumping. I'm kind of hoping Indiana continues to slump, but it's going to be hard with Karis LeVert coming back. But maybe maybe I don't know if he's going to play every game. Maybe they might hold him out, a couple games. I mean, preserve his health, see how he feels. But I'm hoping Chicago could steal some, games. I mean, the Knicks need to slump, but Thibodeau won't let that happen. So we're going to have to get in outright, or we're gonna be in the play-in game. We're going to have to just maintain. But yeah.
Only time will tell. We'll see what happens.
Exactly.
But that's pretty much all I had to talk about tonight. I don't know if you saw anything different that jumped out at you.
Waiting for this UCLA Michigan State game to start. Feels like it's been kind of procrastinating forever. But no, I don't have anything to talk about either.
I know that game is going to be exciting because then the winner of that game goes on to play. I think I have an upset there somewhere.
It's on the
against BYU. I have the winner of this game beating BYU.
really. Oh yeah, because I have UCLA. I have UCLA winning this game. I think I have them winning. I think I have them winning. Wait, no, BYU's a 2 seed, right?
6.
No, 6.
Yeah.
I don't look at my. Oh, actually, my brackets actually took a photo of my bracket. I
Yep.
should remember.
I'm sticking with it. Whether it's Michigan State that wins or UCLA, they're going to beat BYU. I'm calling it. And next week, though, I'll probably be wrong, and then you'll be able to point out that I was wrong.
I'm trying to find it. What region are they in again?
I
see it. They're in the East. And no, I have. I didn't even pick a game for that one. My paper bracket, but I have BYU winning. Never mind. I think I had Michigan State winning at one bracket, but I had UCLA winning in another one. I think I gave UCLA some love.
Well, we will see because I think that game. When does that game actually happen for BYU? Maybe I want to say it's Saturday. Come on. I believe it's Saturday. Yeah, regardless when it happens, it's going to happen this weekend. Yeah, that's all we have for you tonight. We will be back next Thursday at 8:30 to talk about recapping the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament, highlighting some more the actual Sweet 16 matchups for the following weekend, and then some more NBA news. We will have a solid idea and news for what players are moving where. So until next week, I'm Andrew McKay. With me is my partner, Sam Odiyemi.
See you next week.
Take care.